Hi, I'm Jennifer of Celtic Knot Crochet, and today in this video I'll be showing you how to make the Celtic Crochet Square. Let's get started. The Celtic Crochet Square is block 9 of the Moogly 2024 Crochet Along. I'll show you how to do each step of this project. You'll learn how to crochet the cords that make up the Celtic knot. Then I'll show you how to weave this Celtic knot using a diagram that you can download for free at CelticKnotCrochet.com. Then we'll crochet a variety of stitches around the Celtic knot to turn it into the 12 by 12 crochet square. If you like this project, make sure to give us a thumbs up and don't forget to click to subscribe. Now it's time to go over our supplies. To make the Celtic Crochet Square, you'll need a small amount of Yarnspiration Caron 1 pound acrylic yarn. Now for my square, I used the color Rose. And then I like to use some color that's the same color family, but contrasting. So I decided to pick this color, which is pink. So I have a dark pink and then a light pink. And then I wanted to frame the knot with this pretty navy blue. It's called Cape Cod Blue. These are very large yarn skeins. You could see here they're 16 ounces or 1 pound, 812 yards. So I have plenty left over if I want to make more squares or use this for another project. Then you're going to want a J or 6mm crochet hook. I like the clover hooks. And remember, all of these supplies are listed in the description below with purchase links. And then you're going to want a bunch of stitch markers. Now, if you want to do it the quickest way possible, you would need 32 stitch markers. But if you don't have that many, you can always use safety pins, twist ties, even small pieces of contrasting color yarn to mark your stitches. But if you don't have that many, you need at least 8 or 16. And you'll see why once we start making the cords of the knot. You'll want a tapestry needle and some scissors. When we get to weaving the Celtic knot, I'll share with you the types of supplies I like to use for that. And if you're here just for the weaving, you can click on the timestamp in the description below, and it'll take you straight to the weaving section for this project. To make the Celtic knot in the Celtic Crochet Square, you'll be making 4 crocheted cords. 2 of the cords will be boxy like this, and we're calling this cord 2. And then 2 of the cords will be a little bit longer, thin loops like this, and this is cord 1. So I'm going to show you how to make each of these cords, and then we're going to weave them together. For my demonstration, I'm having all 4 cords be different colors, but in your final project, you might like all of your cords to be the same color. It's up to you. You can decide. Changing the colors for all different parts of this project will give you a variety of really neat looks for your Celtic Crochet Square. So the first cord we're going to make, we're calling cord 1. You're going to chain 66. So this will give you a nice long chain, and we're going to work into the back of the chain. So this is the front of the chain that looks like a braid, and we're going to turn the chain over and work into these back bumps or back bars that you see here. So first we have to skip the first 2 chains, and then we're going to work into that 3rd chain, and we're going to do a half double crochet stitch. So we're going to yarn over, put our hook in through that back bar, and then yarn over, pull through the chain, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And we're going to work in the next 22 chains repeating the half double crochet stitch. I'll show it to you again. Yarn over, put my hook in through that back bar, yarn over, pull through the chain, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 3. And I'll continue that for 22 more stitches. So this is what I have so far for my cord, and I should have 23 half double crochets. Now I'm going to work an increase, which means I'm just going to put 2 half double crochets into the next chain. So do 1 there, and then I'm going to put another one right in that same chain. And then before I go any further, I want to take my stitch markers and I want to mark each of those stitches. And this will make it really easy for me to find these stitches for my next row of the cord. And it goes by really quickly when you do it this way. You don't have to do any counting. Alright, so for my next section here, I'm going to half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to do an increase again. So I'm going to put 2 half doubles in the next chain. 1, and then I'm going to go right back into that same chain. And then before I move on, I want to mark those stitches. So mark both of those half double crochets. Okay, now my next section of the cord, I'm going to do 27 half double crochets along this chain. So I continue working in that back bar. I'm going to do 27. Okay, so now I've completed those 27 half double crochets, and I'm going to do an increase again. So 2 half doubles in the next stitch, 1, 2, and then before I go anywhere, mark those 2 half double crochets. Then I'm going to work in the next 3 chains. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to increase again, 2 half doubles in the next chain. 1, 2, and then stop to add my stitch markers. And then I should have 4 chains left here, and I'm going to half double crochet in each of those last 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and I can fasten off. Cut about 8 to 12 inches because I can use these yarn tails to sew my square together later. And you should have a cord that looks like this. So because of those increases, it's going to turn on its own. Now you'll want to make 2 cords like this, and if you have enough stitch markers, I recommend doing this step again. So you have 2 that look like this. Then we can work on row 2 of all the cords at the same time. But if you don't have enough stitch markers, then just do complete each cord as you go, because you need 8 stitch markers for each cord. So a total of 32 stitch markers. You can use safety pins, you can use twist ties, you can even use a little piece of yarn. So there are a lot of different things you can use as stitch markers if you're running out. But I found it's quicker to do row 1 of all the cords first, and then we'll do row 2 on all the cords, and we don't even have to do any counting. Now we're going to work on cord 2. So you'll first want to put your slip knot on your hook, and you're going to chain 62. And we're going to work this very similar to how we worked cord 1. This is the front of our chain, and we're going to turn it over and start in the 3rd chain from our hook. And we're going to work in that back bump with a half double crochet. Yarn over, put my hook in, yarn over, pull through the chain, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 3. And I'm going to do 6 more half doubles, 1 in each of the next 6 chains. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I want to work an increase, 2 half double crochets in the next chain. So like we did on the other cord, I'm going to put the half double crochet in that chain, and then I'm going to insert my hook right back into that same chain. And before I go anywhere, I want to mark those 2 half double crochets with some stitch markers. Now I'm going to half double crochet in each of the next 18 chains. Still working in that back bar. So far I just have 2 increases. Well, it's technically 1 increase with 2 half doubles right there, and that's making it turn already. And now I'm going to do another increase. So 2 half doubles in my next chain. 1, 2, and mark those with a stitch marker each. And now I'm going to do half doubles in the next 10 chains. One in each for 10. And now I'm going to do another increase, 2 half doubles in my next chain. 1, 2, and mark each of these. Now I'm going to half double in each of the next 18 again. Okay, so you can see my cord is starting to take shape. This is the one that looks more like a rectangle. So I've just completed the second 18 half double crochets, and now I'm going to do an increase in the next chain. So 2 half doubles in there. And quickly mark those before I go anywhere so they're easy to find. And then I should have 3 chains left, and I'm going to put a half double crochet in each of those remaining chains. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to fasten off again with a nice long tail, 8 to 12 inches. And this here is one of my cord number 2s. And by adding those increases, you get a nice looking rectangle shape. So again, you'll want to make 2 of these. Now let's move on, and we're going to do row 2 of all the cords because the directions are the same. Even though they're two different shapes, we're going to do the same thing. So I'll show you with this one. But if you look and see, so far we've made a long skinny loop cord and then a shorter boxy rectangle cord. And we're going to have 2 of these and 2 of the pink. And once you've completed them all, then you're going to work starting at the beginning of your cord. So the beginning of your cord is the end that does not have the yarn tails. And you're going to put your slip knot on your hook of the same color. I guess you could use a different color if you wanted. It would be a different look for your square. But I'm going to use the same color. And I'm going to insert my hook under both of those loops and join with a single crochet. So when you join with a single crochet, you have your slip knot on your hook, you insert the hook where you want to start, yarn over, pull through that first stitch, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to work a single crochet in each stitch across, very easy. Except when I get up to those marked stitches with the stitch markers. So I'm almost there. So I have this one right here, so I have one more. And then here's my first marked stitch, see it right here? And I'm going to put 2 single crochets in each marked stitch. So there's 1, and then the next marked stitch is right after. 1 and 2, and then I just truck along with my single crochet until I get to the next marked stitches. And you're going to do that for all 4 cords, working with the right side facing and starting at the beginning of each cord, joining with a single crochet and working across. So this way we don't have to do any counting. With those stitch markers, we know where our increases are going to be. And I think it helps the project go much quicker. And it means you could also do some of this while watching TV or talking with a friend. So here I am at my next 2 increases. See them right here? 1, 2. And I put 2 single crochets in the first one. And 2 single crochets in the next one. And I continue all the way around, and when I get to the end of the cord, I fasten off again. And of course, then you can remove your stitch markers. Now all of our cords should have 2 rows, 1 row of half double crochet and 1 row of single crochet. I removed all of the stitch markers, and you would have 4 cords for this demonstration. I just have 2 right here. And I'm going to add a slip stitch edging to all the cords. And again, like row 2 of all the cords, this is the same for all 4 cords. So I'll show you with the green rectangular cord. I'm going to make sure that the right side is facing, and I'm going to start on the end that only has 1 yarn tail. And I'm going to be working into the back loop of each stitch. So that's the back loop right there. So normally we go through both loops like this, and I'm just going to go through the back loop. I'm going to insert my hook into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through the back loop and through the loop on my hook, and that's a slip stitch. And I'm going to work a slip stitch in each stitch around the entire cord on both sides. And I want to make sure that along this outside edge, I'm doing them nice and loosely so they don't tighten up my cord and make my cord kind of all ripply and funky looking. I want a nice flat, even cord. So I continue like this until I get to the end, and I'll show you how to do the other side. Here I am at the end of one side of the cord, and I'm going to work across this short side. So I'm going to chain 1 and then put my hook just into the side of that single crochet there and do another slip stitch. Then I'll chain one again, put my hook into the side of the half double right there and do another slip stitch. That gets me across. Then chain one, and now I'm going to do the same thing, work in that back loop only. So putting my hook in right like that and continuing on with the slip stitches. The only thing that's different for this inside edge is when I get to any one of these curves, I'm going to skip one stitch on the inside of the curve, and that just helps my cord lay flat and looks cleaner. And it doesn't matter which one. I could skip either this one or this one. I think I'll skip this next one. So I'll do a slip stitch here, and then I'm going to skip this inside stitch and go right to the next one. And keep working along there. And you can't even see that I skipped it, and it helps create a really nice bend in my cord. So continue on until you get to the end of this side of the cord, and just make sure you skip that one stitch at the inside of the next 3 bends. So if we look at this cord, we have a bend here, we have a bend here, and here. So 1, 2, 3, and a total of 4. So I'm going to go along and then fasten off when I get to the end. And there I have a cord completed, and I'm going to do this to all 4 of my cords so I have this nice edging, and it really helps the Celtic knot design to pop. Just thought I'd show you real quick how to do the slip stitch on the inside edging of the other type of cord. So since this is not a rectangle, it's more of a long skinny loop here, you're still going to do the same thing. So I'm working on my other inside edge here of the cord. And I want to keep an eye on where that curve is. So here's the curve, so I'll probably skip this stitch right here. So I'll work in 3 more. Alright, and then I'm going to skip this one and work in the next couple, because my next bend is coming up quick. Let's see here. Here's my next bend, and I'm going to skip this next stitch and keep on going with the slip stitch in the back loop only. And there you go. So that's just a little view of how you would do it on the other cord. Now that we've completed our 4 cords, we're ready to weave the Celtic knot. So I'm going to move the cords out of the way for a moment and show you the supplies you'll want. So you'll want a tapestry needle and some straight sewing pins. I don't know, about 20 should do. You'll want to print out the Celtic Crochet Square diagram that you can find at CelticKnotCrochet.com. This is for right-handers, and if you look, you'll see that there's also a left-handed version. It's the same knot, it's just done in an opposite manner because left-handers crochet in the opposite direction. So your cords would come out looking the same, but opposite. So by using an opposite diagram, it'll be a lot easier on your brain. So make sure you print out the one that is right for you and your dominant hand. And then I'm using a nice big 12 by 12 inch piece of corkboard that's 1/4 inch thick. And to protect my work surface, this is not necessary, but I add about a 1/2 inch piece of styrofoam underneath. And that way the pins, when they go through the corkboard, don't damage my work surface. So before we start weaving, we're going to want to look at this Celtic knot and the diagram so your brain understands what's happening a little bit beforehand. So what you want to do is notice the pattern of the knot. So like we completed those 4 cords, we have 2 long diagonal loops, so the pink and the blue, and they're going to go here. and then we have our 2 more square or rectangle shaped loops. Now the pathways on this diagram are a little thinner than the cords, and that's on purpose, so it's easier to see the pattern. If they were as thick as this, it would be a little bit harder to weave. Just trust me on that one. Now when we go to weave the cords, we're going to start here at the asterisk and weave the pink cord first. So I recommend taking your finger and just running it along the pink path so you see where it's going to go. And then the beginning and end of the cord are going to meet here, and eventually we'll cover it up with this white path. Then we're going to do the same thing, but over here on the blue path, we're going to start at the black square, and we're going to follow the arrow and lay our cord down like so. Then we're going to do the green, and we're going to start at the black circle and go this way. And then lastly, we're going to start at the triangle and work the white path. Okay, and then these things right here, A, B, and C, this is referring to this section of the Celtic knot. And 1, 2, and 3 are referring to this little valley in between A, B, and C. And this is for when we're going to add crochet stitches in between here to make this whole knot into a bigger square. So those you don't need to pay attention to while we're weaving. They'll come in handy later. So here is my pink cord, and this is the beginning. So all of your cords start where there isn't the slip stitch across the bottom. So I went across the bottom here, and that's the second half or the end of my cord. Again, also the cord with the least amount of yarn tails is the beginning with the long stretch here. So I'm going to place this beginning here at the black asterisk, and wherever I want it to stay in line, I'm going to put a pin. This first one is very easy to do because we're just laying it on top of the diagram, following along the pink path. I like to leave the yarn tails on so that I can use them to sew my knot together and then weave them in at the same time, and that saves me time. Now you want to make sure that you pin each cord along its path. So see how this isn't laying on the pink, and that'll make it confusing for you later. So make sure that you pin it in place so it's on that pink path as much as possible. I found that when I was practicing this knot, it was difficult to see where everything needed to go if the cords weren't secured over their path. Now we're ready to do the next cord, the next diagonal cord. So same thing, I'm going to start with the end that doesn't have the slip stitch along here, and I'm going to place it down on the black square, pinning it in place. Now I need to start working over and under according to what is on the diagram. So I peek, and I can see that the blue is going under the pink here, and then it's going to go over the pink here. So I just weave it through like so. And pin it in place. All right, now I continue this way along the blue path, and I'm going to peek at the diagram, and I see that the blue right here goes under the pink and then over the pink here. So I want to go under and then over, and doing my best to keep the pink here on the pink path and the blue on the blue path. And I'll pin those in place. So you can use these pins wherever you want. Use as many or as few. There we go. Now we're going to work along the green path, and remember all of our beginnings and ends are going to be under another cord. So I can see it hiding here under the blue cord at the black circle. And again, I'm going to start with the end of the cord that has the least amount of yarn tails. And I'll put that under, making sure that the yarn tails are under as well. Now, if you'd like, you can block your cords before you start this step, and it will relax your cords and probably help them lay flat. I like to wait until the end to block my square, but that's definitely an option, especially if you have tight tension. I recommend blocking your cords before you weave. Now I want to notice where the green path is going. So remember, the white cord is not here yet, so we can just ignore that part. But I need to see what's happening around this pink cord. So the green is going to go over the pink, and then when we get to here, it's going to go under the pink. So over and then under, right here. And you'll see here that the bends, or the rounded corners, will meet up with the rounded corners on the diagram right here. And by pinning them in place, it just helps you weave the knot better because it'll leave space for our last cord, which will be the most difficult to weave. Now, as we continue doing the second half of the green cord, we're going to go under the blue, and then if we peek, we're going to go over the blue. Now, I know that because this is where the blue join was, there has to be an over to hide that. So under here, then over. You might have to move the pins temporarily and then replace them like so. Now we're almost finished with the green path and the green cord. Of course, yours will all be the same color if you choose to do that style. But I think with the diagram being a different color, that would help you. Another thing you could do is, if your cords are all the same color, you could put stitch markers that match the diagram along the surface of your cords to help you keep track of whether it's the pink or the blue or the white or the green. So I peek at the diagram. The white's not here yet, so we can ignore that. Right here, the green is going to go over the pink, and then it's going to go under the pink. So we have over, under, and we'll meet up with where we began. And we want to stuff that under there. Again, I can use another pin to just keep that end in place. And I want to make sure that this is lining up with the corner here. So that's what we have so far. Now we're ready for our last cord, and for this demonstration I made it a nice bright white so it was easy to see where we were going. And again, the beginning of the cord is this section, so the end is where you have a really short section before the bend, and the beginning is a longer section before the bend. And we're going to find on the diagram, it's right here, the black triangle, and that's where we're going to put the beginning. I just want to make sure that I have all my yarn tails through. And put it right there in the middle of the cord, so it's hidden. And then if we peek at the diagram, we see that we have to go, the white is going over the pink. So pretty easy so far. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Our last cord starts here and it's going to go over. Now we want to peek at the diagram and we want to see where this white cord is going to go. There's going to be a lot of over and unders in a row. So if I peek here, I see I'm going to go under the green, then I'm going to go, see the white right there? That shows me that the white is going over the blue, and then I see the blue, so it's going to go under the blue, and then back, see all white here? I can pick up and see, and it's going over the green. So when you do your last pass for any Celtic knot that's a true Celtic knot, you will have under-overs in an alternating pattern. So this is my last one, so I know everything is going to be under-over in a row. So I had over here, so I know the next one's going to be under, we're bringing through some of the yarn tails from the other cords, so we want to get those out of there so it's not confusing. So we have under, over. Now we don't want to forget this blue cord right here. We're going to go under that and over, and this little cord here just slipped out, so that's why it's important to pin all those ends. Alright, so far that's what we have. We place the beginning under and then over, under, over, under, over. And we're going to continue like that down this side. If we peek at the diagram, we see that we're going to go under, and then I know we have to go over to hide these cord ends. So we go under, and I remove these pins temporarily so I can go over, right like that, and make sure to pin the cord ends in place, and I make sure that the corners or the bends in the cord match up with the diagram. Okay, we're almost finished. We have our last pass across. So we just went over, so we know it's going to be alternating from over, under, over, and then end with an under. But if you would like to check with the diagram, you can check with that too. So if you look here, you can see the white is going under the green, then it's going to go over the blue, because all we can see is white, so we know it's going over the blue. Then look, the blue's here, so it's going to go under the blue, and then back all white over the green to end right here. So left off with over, then we have under, over, under, over, and meet up with where we began. Okay, and there we go. And then you can make some adjustments to make sure it's all nice and even and the cords look their best. So now that you can see it with all the different colors, it has a much different look. I like the one color look, but maybe you would like to do one color the same for the long diagonal cords, and then one color the same for the rectangular cords. You decide. Now I'm going to show you what I like to do to finish the knot. So the first thing I do is where all the joins are, I'm going to take the pins out and place them back in, but go across like this. And that helps hold those cord ends in place. And I'm going to do that at all of the spots where the cord begins and ends. This will also help to keep things together. All my hard work, I don't want this weaving to come undone. But if you did the Celtic knot correctly, it kind of, all the overs and unders lock everything in place nicely. And then I remove all the extra pins that are going up and down so I can take the knot off my board. Now that the Celtic knot is secured by the pins, I take it off the board and flip it over, and I'm going to find all those spots where the cords meet, and I'll work one at a time, remove the pins so I can make sure that they meet up next to each other. You can see here the two cord ends, and I'm going to take one of the yarn tails and thread it onto my tapestry needle, and I'm going to go over to the other side of the cord and thread it through there, and then go back to that first side of the cord and continue going back and forth like this, whip stitching the cord ends together. It's not going to show because it's going to be on the back side of your square. And when I get to the end, I just pick another yarn tail and tie a nice double knot. And there we go, that's not going anywhere. Now these yarn tails I'm going to leave here for now. Later, once we've done the edging, then I'll weave these in and I'll use them to secure some of the cords. So I'll just sew the cord to this cord, like this white one, I'll sew it down to the green one, making sure all my stitching stays on the back. But for now, I'd like to keep things a little flexible so that when we go to add the stitching, I can move things around so I can fit in the right number of stitches. So you'll want to repeat what I just did on all of the cord ends, and then we'll be ready to turn our Celtic knot into a larger square. Now that we've completed weaving the Celtic knot, we're going to add the stitches around the outside edge to create the 12-inch square. So to do this, we can use our Celtic knot diagram for some help. So if you see here on the diagram, I added a 1, 2, 3, and A, B, and C. So we're going to begin the edging round right here, and then we're going to fill in this indent indicated by number 1. Then we're going to work across section A, then fill in indent number 2, then work across section B, then fill in indent 3, and then work over section C here. Then we're going to add a corner, and then we're going to repeat the same thing around the entire square. The same stitches because it all looks the same. See here, 1, 2, 3, indent, A, B, C section. And we'll be able to do that all the way around and start forming our square shape. So you'll want to, and again, remember, left-handers, yours is going to be opposite. You're going to start over here and you're going to work this way, and you'll see on your diagram it'll say 1, 2, 3, and it'll say A, B, C. So it's the same thing, it's just because you work in a different direction. So I want to make sure mine lines up like so, and I'm going to put my slip knot on my hook. Now I'm going to use this bright green color so it's easier for you to see, but in my square I decided to use the same color that I used for the edging, so I used the very light pink. You decide which you would like best. Now when you work into these cords, what I like to do is I do not want to work into this pretty slip stitch edging. If I work into there, it just doesn't look as nice. So I go just behind the slip stitch edging, and I'm going to work into these loops right back here. But I think they're really easy to see. because that slip stitch edging created this nice line of loops. But sometimes I've also found that if you work into just this one, it can pull up and give you a lot of holes in your project. So if you would like, you can also work in another loop. So I put my hook through this loop and another one that I could find on the back, like this one. And that helped these stitches of this first round around the knot be even more secure and tight. So by putting it in there, it doesn't make this big hole, and it doesn't really bother the cord, and I think it looks its best. But you decide whether you want to do 1 or 2 loops on the back side. Now to begin, in the directions, remember, that are written at CelticKnotCrochet.com, we're going to work back from where these 2 cords cross. So they meet up here, and I want to work back from this to find my starting point. So here's where I'm probably going to put the tallest stitch in the center of the indent, and I'm going to count back 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. And I'm going to join with a half double crochet. So to join with a half double crochet, I yarn over with my slip knot on my hook, I insert it into those loops, then I yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then I'm going to work a half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So I like to use here my fingernail to help me insert it. I also like to turn my work, so I'm really looking on the back side here, like this. It takes a little bit longer to do the 2 loops, but I think it's worth it to make for a really nice and secure edging on this knot. And it can be any 2 loops. It can be this loop here, the slip stitch edging. You could pick that one too, like that. All right, so I have 4 half double crochets right here. Then I'm going to double crochet right here at the indent. So I yarn over, and I'm going to put my hook into, I'll put it into this side here. Now another thing you can do if you're having a hard time is you can put your needle into where you want to go, and you can use that to kind of help you insert your hook. And here's my double crochet. Yarn over and then pull through 2 twice. So this nice tall stitch is going to go right there where the 2 cords cross, which is number 1. Now I'm going to work across section A. And I'm going to do a single crochet in each of these next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still working in that back loop. And for the sake of time, I think I'm just going to go in the first loop there. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now I'm back at the next indent, which you see on the diagram, which is indent number 2. And then I'm going to work a double crochet right in there. And let's see here, let's go down into that next stitch. So you decide. You see I did one stitch on this section, but you could go to the next section. There's really no wrong or right way to do it, as long as you have that tall double crochet lining up with where the cords meet. And that helps it to be nice and level and even across. All right, now I'm going to do 5 more single crochets across here. And this is section B. And I put this in the written directions. Before I start working here, I just like to kind of eyeball where I'm headed. So if I were to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like so, then I'd probably put the tall stitch right here. So I just want to make sure that I'm starting at a good spot. I don't want to start way down here. If I started way down here and went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I would end here and have all this extra. So sometimes I head to where I'm going. Here's my tall stitch. I'm going to put it there. Then I count back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that way I know I'm going to end at the right spot and my edging will look the best. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so now I've completed section B, and next I'm going to put the tall double crochet in the next stitch, which will line up there with the cross. You can see how that helps straighten out this side. So now that I'm here on section C, I have a few more half double crochets to do, and in order to make sure all the stitches that I need to do are going to fit, I'm going to go to where I'm headed. So I'm going to skip along to that first indent of the next side, and I'm going to count back the number of stitches I'm going to need. So I need 4 half doubles, then I need a double crochet, then I need the corner, then I need another double crochet, and then I need 4 half doubles. So that's 11 stitches around here. So let me just see how many I have if I go from here back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 would come to here, but I'd really maybe not like that much of a gap. I'd really like to use this stitch. So if I do 11 from here, then I can work my indent tall double crochet, that 1 extra stitch right here. So I think that'll work. So that's what I like to do when I'm working on something like this, is I see where I need to go, and then I count back the number of stitches I need to fit in, so I start in the right place. So here we go. This is my indent tall double crochet, then 1, 2, 3, 4 half double, then I'll have a double crochet, then I'll have my corner, then I'll have another double, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 half doubles. So that puts me right here. So I'll do 1 half double. And again, for time's sake, I'm just working in that first back loop, but normally I would work through 2 loops on the back side. So there's 4 half doubles. Then I'm going to do a double crochet here. Then I'm going to work the corner stitch, which is treble. So I yarn over twice, put my hook in, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 times, chain 1. Then I'm going to do a double crochet in the same stitch. And then I'm going to do a double crochet in the next stitch after that. Make sure I get through all, sometimes the yarn separates. And now I'm going to do my 4 half doubles. And now I'm starting my next side. So here's the first side, working right across. And what I recommend is you take your work and rotate it so it lines up with the diagram again, and that can help you follow along. So we completed the corner and the double crochet after the corner, and now we're ready to do 4 half doubles, double crochet in the indent, 5 single crochets, double crochet in the indent, 5 single crochets, double crochet in the indent, 4 half doubles, double crochet, and then the corner. So those are the stitches that you would repeat along each side. If you'd like, you can press pause, or you can go back, rewind just a few minutes, and repeat this video so you can complete each side like I'm doing. So remember, you start up with the half double crochets again. I've gone all the way around my square with round 1 of the edging, and I'm at my last C section right here. And I've already done 4 half doubles, so I know that I'm going to have a double crochet, then the corner, then a double crochet, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 half doubles. So I count back, and I'm going to start this section here and put in 4 half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I do a double crochet. Now I do the corner, which is treble crochet, 2 yarn overs. Chain 1, and then a double crochet in that same place, and then a double crochet in the next stitch, and now I can slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. Okay, so here you can see my completed first round. And I still have all my yarn tails because I'm going to use those to sew up these crossings and sew them down later. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to round 2, and I'm going to keep the same color because I liked a little bit thicker of a border around the knot to really make the knot pop. But you can change colors here if you'd like, but I'm going to keep the same color for the next round. So I decided to go ahead and mark all my chain 1 spaces with a stitch marker, and I'll carry this throughout all the rounds, and it just makes it easier to find your chain 1. But again, it's not necessary. So here we are at the beginning of round 2, and let me zoom in for you here. So this and all the next few rounds are much easier than that first round. Now we're just building up stitches around the outside of our square, and we'll do a few increases at the corners. So you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to work half double crochet in each stitch all the way across, and you're going to work as normal through both loops of each stitch. Half double crochet is a great stitch for blankets and squares because it's nice and thick, so it keeps you warm, doesn't have a lot of holes in it, and it works up really, really fast. Once you get in the rhythm of your half doubles, you'll be cruising. And what I like about the stitch markers is it takes the counting and the concentrating on where you are out of the equation. So you know that you're just going to keep going, until you're 1 stitch away from the chain 1 space where your stitch marker is. So here is that tall treble crochet that we made. So we're going to work 2 half doubles right in there. 1, 2. Now we're at that chain 1 space, which is our corner, and we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So yarn over, put my hook into the chain 1 space, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1, and then another double crochet, all right in that chain 1 space. And then before I go too far, I want to add that stitch marker back in. And now here I have the double crochet from the previous corner, see that? And I'm going to put 2 half doubles in there. All right, and that's it. And then we're going to do half doubles all the way across until you get to that first stitch next to the chain 1 space. Put 2 half doubles there, then the corner in the chain 1 space, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then 2 half doubles right after the corner. All right, so work that all the way around, and I'll meet up with you when we get to the last corner just to make sure you know what you're doing. I've completed my half double crochets along the last side. Here I am at the last corner, and there's that treble crochet right before the corner. So I'll do 2 half doubles in here, 1, 2. Then in my last corner, I'm going to do the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and I want to move my stitch marker up to that chain 1 space so I can find it in my next round very easily. And now I have 2 half doubles in this next stitch after the corner, 1, 2, and then all that's left is 1 more stitch here, and then I can slip stitch to my starting chain 2 of the round. And that completes round 2 of our edging. As you can see, that gives a nice thicker frame to the knot. Now I'm going to fasten off the green and start with a different color. One good check for your project is that you can count across each side from chain 1 to chain 1, and for after round 2 you should have 29 stitches across. And for round 1, I forgot to mention, but I'll add it into the video so you might have seen it go by, you would have 25 stitches from chain 1 space to chain 1. So you add 4 stitches, 2 on each side, from round 1 to round 2. Now for round 3, we're going to begin in any chain 1 space that you would like. And we're going to join with a half double crochet. So I have my slip knot on my hook, yarn over, put my hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then I'm going to complete the corner by chaining 1 and doing another half double in that same chain 1 space. And then I'll put a stitch marker back in there. Now we're going to work along the side like we did before. And we're just going to do 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way across to the next corner. But I want to work in the back loop only and the loop below that. So like we did for round 1, if you'd like, I'm working in the back loop only, which is right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So we normally go under both loops like this, but I'm just going to insert my hook under that one, but I'm also going to turn my work and insert it under the loop right below the back loop. So I'll be working like this. And again, it just makes it more secure. You don't have to do 2 loops on the back, or the back loop plus an additional loop. You could just work in the back loop. But again, I found that when I did that, I got these big holes. And I didn't want that look for this square. So I did want a nice line around to help frame the square even more. So I'm going to go through the back loop and a loop on the back side. And I'll do that all the way down. Because I did half double crochets, it's very easy to find that back loop on the back side. And it creates this nice line, and by doing through the 2 loops, I don't have any holes. So I'm going to go across until I get to the next chain 1 space. So I'm right here at the next chain 1 space. Found it easily because of my stitch marker. So I'll take the stitch marker out and I'm going to do half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet right in that chain 1 space, and then mark the chain 1 again. And now I'm going to continue working down the other side, and I'll repeat that all the way around. And when I get back to the beginning, I'll do a slip stitch right in that first half double crochet. If you want to check how you're doing with the pattern, you'll have 31 half double crochets across each side in between your chain 1 spaces. So you have chain 1, 31 half doubles, then chain 1 along each side. I'm coming up on the end of my round, the first corner, continuing to work in that back loop and a loop behind. And here's my first half double crochet of the round. And I'll put my hook in, yarn over, and do a slip stitch. And there we go. That's round 3 finished. So in the pattern, you'll see that there are 6 rounds of edging. We've just finished 3, and this has made my square approximately 10 inches across. So at this point, your square might be bigger or smaller than mine, and you can change the height of your stitches for the border. So I'm going to continue with 2 more rounds, just like this one, of half double crochet. And then I'm going to end with a single crochet round. But you might want to do differing heights depending on how big your square is turning out. So if you have thicker yarn than me, a larger hook, or your tension is different than mine, you might have a different size square at this point. So feel free to adjust the height of the stitches. You could have to do a very short row like slip stitch. The next up size would be single crochet. Then you have half double crochet, double crochet, treble crochet, and even double treble crochet. So that's the height order for you. So you can pick one that works best for your square. So since I'm here with the white yarn, and I'm going to do the same color for the next 2 rounds, this is how you would continue. Chain 2, and then I'm going to work right into the corner. I'm going to do a half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, just like that. And so every corner I'm going to do the same thing I did in the previous round. The only difference for these 2 rounds is now I'm just going to work through both loops as usual. So I'm going to yarn over, put my hook through both loops, and complete half double crochets all the way across to the next chain 1 space that's marked with the stitch marker, and then I'll do half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet at the corner. And that's it. Do 2 more rounds like that, and that'll just continue to increase the width and the size of my square until I get to the 12 inches. I'll actually come just under 12 inches and add 1 more round of single crochet to complete the square. For row 4, you should have 33 stitches across from chain 1 to chain 1. So you have the chain 1 space and then 33 half double crochets and then the next chain 1 space. And that goes for all sides of the square. Here you can see that I've completed my 5 rounds of an edging, and my square without blocking is about 11.5 inches wide. So I just need a little bit more, so I'm going to do a single crochet round to frame it out. But if your square is already at 12 or almost 12, you would probably pick a slip stitch edging. Remember, you can alter the length of the sides by changing the height of each stitch. So I'm going to use the same color that I used here, and I'm going to pick any of the chain 1 spaces, take out my stitch marker, and I'm going to join with a single crochet. So we've done this before. I'm going to put my slip knot on my hook. Then I insert my hook into the chain 1, yarn over, pull through, 2 on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'm going to chain 1 and put a single crochet in that chain 1 space again. Now what I wanted to mention is when you're working into these half double crochets, you want to make sure that you don't miss this first stitch here. So if you look carefully, these loops here, they go with this next stitch. So the loops that go with this stitch are actually hiding under here. So I want to make sure that I put a single crochet in there. And then I just work like I did the half double crochets. I'm going to do a single crochet in each stitch all the way around, and when I get to each of my corners, I'm going to do a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. And then when I end, I'll just slip stitch in the first stitch and I'll be finished with all of my edging rounds. I'm coming up on the end of my last round. Want to make sure I work in each of the stitches across, and then here is my first single crochet of the round, so I'll put a slip stitch right in there. And here you have the completed Celtic Crochet Square. Now that we have the knot woven, it edged with all these stitches, we have one more step, and that is to turn it over on the wrong side where all your yarn tails are. Yay, yippee! And I'm going to use these yarn tails, so I'll pick this white one here, and I'll put it on my yarn needle. And instead of just weaving this in, I'm going to take this opportunity to whip stitch the edges of the cords. Now this is a pretty tight weave for a Celtic knot, so your cords probably aren't going to go anywhere, but since most likely you're putting this into a blanket and that gets a lot of use and washing, it's good to just go around and secure the cords, and that way on the right side they'll be down nicely, and you can do the same thing along all the cords if you'd like, so they don't pop up like this while people are using your blanket. It's an optional step, but I recommend it, especially if you're making this as a special gift for someone and you want it to stay intact. So I weave across the back of the cords and then make sure I pick up just the loops on the back so it doesn't show on the front. And I'll just, here where 4 cords meet up, sometimes it's nice to whip stitch the opening there closed. So I go one diagonal and then the other diagonal, and if we look on the front, see how that keeps that meet up spot, keeps it nice and tight. So there's a bunch of different things you can do to finish off your square. You can do this step while watching TV or talking with a friend or listening to a podcast, and it would help it go by really quickly. So don't just weave those ends in, use the ends to help secure all the cords. So you're kind of doing 2 jobs at once here. And I keep going until I don't have anything left, like so. Go across another potential opening where 4 cords meet. And then I'm going to go, still have more here. Alright, now I have, about 4 inches left, and I'll just go through the cord like so on the back, one direction, and then back the other way to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And then I can trim off the excess, and I'll want to do that on all my cord ends, and then my square will be complete and ready for blocking. And then you'll want to block your square by soaking it with cool water, pressing out the excess water in a towel, then laying it out on a flat surface and making sure all the corners are nice and pointy and your sides are equal length. So you can see here, mine's 12 inches this way and 12 inches that way. Okay, and let it dry overnight. You could use pins and a blocking board or even some cardboard with the towel over it. So you let it dry overnight and it'll look great, very professional, clean, finished. I hope you enjoyed making this square. Make sure to leave a comment telling me which colors you use. I'd love to hear about your projects, and if you think of it, post a photo in the Moogly Crochet Along Facebook group, or you can send me a photo. If you like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to click to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and happy crocheting!